What's up, guys? So, once again, went out exploring different comic book genres and I stumbled across Jack the Ripper Vampire Hunter. So, we're gonna dive a little bit into the horror genre to see whether or not that this was for me. Um, so far, yeah, I'm definitely liking what I was reading as far as horror comics are concerned. This one here was written by Mandy Summers and is part of Stuntman Comics, and you can find them on their website, stuntmancomics.com. Um, and so, I just want to get right into it. So we start off in the year 1839. We follow a young woman just kind of stumbling and bumbling all through the streets of London, and we're being told, and shown rather, that she is, uh, she's sad, looks like she's in some sort of pain, like misery kind of deal. And we have a dark figure who enters and says he can take that all away. And, this sounds too good to be true, so she turns away. And as she does, um, you know, the man stops her, stares at her, and paralyzes her for a moment. And while she's paralyzed, he begins to feed, like a vampire. And once he's had his fill, he discards her and just leaves her there. And then we proceed to see, um, the body being found, going through the coroner, and the burial proceedings. And then the man returns and demands that this woman, who we find is named Elizabeth Jackson, don't know how relevant that is, but we're going to mention it. It's on her tombstone. Um, and demands that she rises again, and Elizabeth complies, and we now see that she is a vampire as well. And that is our prologue, and that's where we end. Next, we enter chapter 1, and now the year is 1888, so about 50 years uh, following Elizabeth's um, resurrection into a vampiric state. We are now trailing a man named Detective James King, and we see him on his day to day, and he seems to be obsessed with finding the culprit for a slew of murders in the area. Uh, and we also learn that he's an American transfer into the area, and most people, including himself, are not fond of James. And another dead woman is found, and a note is left behind signed by Jack the Ripper. And this pisses him off. He's motivated. He's like, okay, we're gonna hit the son of a bitch. We're gonna find him, and we're gonna go to all the brothels, all of the pubs, all the known locations where these women keep being spotted, and we're gonna get the little bastard. So we follow him to one of the brothels there, and he admittedly has a hard time staying on focus. You got a half-naked women everywhere, so a little difficult to look for a man when you see a bunch of half-naked ladies. Um, he does spot one odd moment there. So instead of being led up to one of the rooms, uh, one of these women takes her suitor out to the alleyway. That's really odd. So he decides to tag along, or he decides to trail rather. And when he goes out there, he finds that the woman's holding her neck and just bleeding profusely, and that there is a man with a knife who who gets up and turns on her. And James rushes and knocks the man down, and then he goes to see if he can help the woman in any way, shape, or form. Well, her punk ass knocks him out, And he's gone. He's out cold. When he comes back, well, she's dead on the ground, and the man is no longer in the area. And that was the end of chapter 1. Alright, so chapter 2, we are now from the perspective of Jack himself. And we are now a month prior to chapter 1's events. And we get a good sense of Jack's inner monologue. He feels that he is misunderstood and is providing a service for the people because he is ridding the streets of London from vampires. So these are not just simple whores, they are vampires. And we also get a good glimpse of his workstation, and there is a woman from about collarbone on down, just completely split open. She is still alive as well. And he is studying her, trying to figure out what makes them tick. What is what is happening during this um, transition, from human to vampire. Um, so we're dealing with vampires, and he insists that the people of London will not understand. So he decides that this is his secret, and he is not going to tell the people to keep them from, going into like mass hysteria. So night after night, he goes out and tracks these creatures down and kills them. And then one night, he comes across him. Who's him? Well, he is the leader. He is the Highgate Vampire. So the Highgate Vampire is the one who's been turning all the women, much like Elizabeth Jackson. That is, in fact, the man who turned her into a vampire at the end of the prologue. And we now have a showdown between Jack and this man, because this man is trying to feed on yet another woman and turn her. And they get into a scrimmage. Jack gets his ass handed to him and is not able to save her. Now, he does try to stop her from transforming into a vampire by putting his blade into her to end her. However, there is a bystander who did see this go down and immediately calls for the authorities. Jack's not going to stick around for that. He's like, nope. One, don't want to go to jail. Two, can't kill a bunch of vampires if I'm in jail, or worse. So he decides to go ahead and retreat back to his place. And he doesn't fully know if he did kill this woman or not. But we do see that he, in fact, is blamed for that murder. Alright, so in chapter 3, we continue with Jack, and now it's 1 week from where we last saw him. At this point, he has been bitten, and so he's trying to figure out how he can deal with these side effects. We also see that the vampire chick, who's been split open from, side to side from collarbone on down, we see that she is still alive and almost fully healed. And he takes it upon himself to basically perform a quasi blood transfusion to kind of get the healing effects, though he is not currently transforming, and I imagine that's because he did not die. These other women who have transformed died. He was simply bitten, and apparently in this universe that does not automatically mean you are going to transform to a vampire. So he interrogates the vampire who has been with him and wants to know what the Highgate's planning on doing. What's his plans? Where does he hide? He wants to know all the information of the Highgate that he can find. And once he got to a point where his threats mattered to her, she did start to spill the beans as to what his plans are, where he can be found, and all this. And so now, satisfied with the information, Jack Sell had one more concern he needed to address, and kills her with a wooden stake. Because he wanted to know, one, that it worked, and two, what exactly they did when they died. So now he's satisfied with that information as well. So Jack then heads for the cemetery of the woman from the week prior, and found that the grave was dug up and the coffin is empty. And she comes out going, "Surprise, motherfucker!" And she attacks him. Jack says, "Shut up, bitch," and kicks her ass. And after he kills her for good this time, he sees another vampire, and he trails her, but then he's like, it's a trap. Nope. He leaves and decides to regroup at his place. He's like, no. Not gonna get my ass killed right here. Nope. And that regrouping is where we end chapter 3. So now with chapter 4, we're basically going through the events of chapter 1, but now from Jack's perspective over at the brothel. And we now see he was there to look for the Highgate vampire. And the woman that he eventually kills in chapter 1 informed him that, well, he was sent there to be distracted and killed. And so, after finding out that the Highgate's actually at the docks to leave London to go recover and regenerate himself, they head out to the alleyway, and what we saw in chapter 1, that all took place, right? So they go out there. Jack slashes the throat of the vampire chick, gets interrupted by Detective James, and she knocks James out. Jack kills the vampire, and then Detective James gets back up, and he is only slightly behind Jack at this point. So Jack manages to find a horse and head out to the docks. Having seen this happen, James follows on a different horse that he also manages to get. So Jack spots the carriage that is likely carrying the Highgate. The Highgate vampire dispatches his 2 escorts with him. These 2 vampire chicks, they come out with like a big ass firebomb, throw it at him. It falls just short of him. He gets through the flames. He goes over there, kicks these 2 vampire chicks' ass. And I mean, while this is all taking place, Detective James, he's right there. He's watching all of this happen. So, it's mouse chase, Jack chasing the Highgate, James chasing Jack. So Jack gets to the docks shortly after the carriage gets there with the Highgate. The Highgate vampire, he gives like a glare that spooks the horse enough to send Jack off of his horse. Jack rises up and is now like face to face with the Highgate. And Jack is just, he is no match for this vampire. They got super strength. They got all these like powers to him that just he does not have. And he is just easily defeated. And the Highgate goes to leave, and before he could, he is stabbed from behind by Detective James after witnessing what had taken place. So the Highgate vampire, he pushes James away with ease, and now he's getting some help onto the boat from the assistant that he has with him on the boat. And before he can fully get on there, Jack's got like this little hidden crossbow that shoots out stakes under his sleeve, and manages to plunge one right at the top of the heart of the Highgate vampire. And that's all the last we see of the Highgate before the boat departs. And our protagonists are not entirely certain whether or not he is dead. And I'm gonna go ahead and say that, yeah, no, he lived. Just kind of there's a shot at the end of the book where these rats look to be a little extra vicious, like they've been maybe turned themselves. And we also get a quick glimpse of the detective showing up behind Jack with the knife, and it doesn't look like he's quite over hunting down Jack either. And that's where our story ends for now. So just want to touch on our main characters. It's pretty short and sweet list. So we have Detective James King. He's an American transfer over to London, and he is obsessed with finding the killer known as Jack. We have Jack, who is a masked man. We never do see his face. He wears a cloth mask. Seems to be a studied man. He's experimenting on the vampire that he had hostage for a while. And he's trying to hunt down and figure out what it is that turns these guys, what kills, so he's doing this for the betterment of humanity is how he justifies his acts. And finally, we have the Highgate vampire, or as they call him, Master. He is the one, basically, he's going around and creating more vampires. For what purpose, we don't know yet. But he certainly seems to be weakened, so we'll see if he comes back ready to just whoop Jack's ass, or what's going on. Does he come back with some sort of army? I don't know. I am interested to see how this plays out in the next. Will Jack go after him instead? It's undecided, and I'm definitely going to be getting the next one to see what happens. So some of the things I really liked about this book is the multiple perspectives. We go through Jack's perspective on the events, and also Detective James King, and that was a lot of fun to see what's going on in each one of their heads as the events unfold. And the black and white coloring in this book, really, really nice touch. It sets the mood. I don't feel like this would have been as good if it was in color. That's just my thoughts on that one. I think black and white is the only way to go about this, and I really like how it turned out. The only negative I can really give this one is throughout most of the book, Jack is the only one who interacts with the vampires. And the way he talks, you could totally buy into he's just a crazy man. That he is just, in his mind, he is seeing vampires, but he is just killing people, not vampires. That is until the very end, where we actually see James intervene and stab the Highgate. That is the only other time that somebody else that we're following throughout this interacts with the vampires. And it would have been kind of fun had that just been had that not happened, and you can be left wondering if, in fact, Jack is a crazy man, and if he's just killing a bunch of innocent people, or if he's, telling the truth and he's doing the world a service and killing vampires. It would have been nice to leave that ambiguous and let the reader decide. But it was it's not like killing the whole vibe of it. It's still fun. Um, I very much enjoyed the story. It was my first introduction into like horror comics, and I've since gone on and bought more because I enjoyed this one so much. Um, yeah, I definitely, if you get a chance, go pick this one up. It is well worth the read. Um, I would not recommend it though if you don't want to see a bunch of nudity. Um, this is going to be a real chore for me to edit for YouTube. We're going to do my best, So also, plenty of gore. As I described, there is a woman completely split open, a lot of gore. So if this is not your thing, I would not recommend you try it. But if that doesn't bother you, or if you like it, I would certainly recommend this one. So I definitely give it a thumbs up for that. So that's all we got for today. So uh, thank you guys for checking out my review on this one. Um, Tell me what you agree with, what you don't agree with. Did you read this book? Did you like it? Let me know down in the comments, and let me know what else you'd like to see reviewed. But until then, guys, thank you very much, and God bless.